We're ready? And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the Top Dog Talk podcast. I'm your host, Harris Sereno. Alongside me, co-host Dan Kiley, Kobe Piers. He's not the ghost of anybody this week. You don't have a coach that got fired on Sunday. It's a different feeling not to have somebody looking for a new job. But hey, Georgia did have a unemployed guy in Athens yesterday for practice. Billy Napier, former adversary, now turned ally, observer, whatever you want to call it. That made quite the news late last night that dropped. Obviously, Billy and Kirby coached together at Alabama, so they have a connection. There's a lot of mutual respect. I say that because that's like the quote of the week each week that Kirby gets to go face a new coach. Got a lot of respect. So you say that in team meetings, Kobe? Got a lot of respect for these guys. I bet he does.
100%. I mean, he believe it or not, more times than not, I would say what he shows outwardly is really him. Like, he does really have a lot of respect for, I think he understands grinding from like a GA position, a position coach position, a coordinator position, a head coach position. Like, I think he understands like and respects the amount of time and effort it takes to like put together an SEC level football team. So like I do think he has a lot of respect for most coaches. Every once in a while, and I would say the media even knows, like, you run into the coach he doesn't have a lot of respect for, he typically lets that be known pretty well too.
Gonna throw out there. I think Gus Malzahn's probably the coach that I don't want to say had least respect for, but I could tell there's some disdain there. You don't have to confirm that, but you could if you want to.
Yeah, the coach I'm thinking of is not
A
Coach
current head
Gus
coach.
Malzahn. He is a current head
Yeah,
coach.
yeah.
He is.
I remember we had a conversation.
It's not Beamer either.
But whoa!
It's not the person I think he likes the least is not an SEC coach anymore.
Wow. Damn. All right. Well, we'll have to think about that and maybe see if we can guess it off camera.
I'm not gonna make anymore. Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later, but
all right.
Yeah. Good deal. All right, let's get
one thing.
topics.
Yeah.
No,
real quick though, about Billy being here, I want to touch on this. I thought it was very interesting. Like, obviously that news broke late last night. It's been a weird week in college football where I feel like we've kind of peered behind the curtain a little bit in, I think a lot of people know, but maybe don't understand that you reach out to mutual friends for teams that have already played the team you're playing this week. And I think it's been very apparent because Arch said something about it in like Texas media that he was going to reach out to Ty Simpson, ask like a couple of things about what maybe he saw playing Georgia, some tendencies, anything like that. I think a lot of people are like, oh, wow, like Arch is going to ask another quarterback and another SEC team, like, what did he see and what did he think? I think it's funny because like then obviously the news that Billy is in town, coached at Florida, who beat Texas earlier this season. Like, that happens all the time. And I think a lot of times people forget, like, because your fandom rides so hard on like the Georgia Bulldogs, people can't fathom that you would call the head coach of the Florida Gators and go, hey, Billy, like, what did you do to attack when they play, X, Y, or Z? What did y'all do and have success against that maybe we could try to implement? Like, I think people forget that there is a lot of, I hate to say collusion, but a lot of helping.
Collusion.
A lot of helping going on behind the scenes.
Damn.
Hell, it happens in high school too.
Hey, how much we saw Arch Manning came out the other day and said Ty Simpson is a resource he's using prep for Texas. How often do you know of players colluding with other players?
I would say it just depends on relationships. Like, obviously, Arch, a very highly rated quarterback, Ty, a very highly rated quarterback. And then it feeds into, like, Ty's dad's a coach. Arch has the family lineage. And
Royalty.
then you just end up going to all these camps, right? Like there are a lot more quarterback specific camps where quarterbacks just spend time with quarterbacks than almost any other position group. So I do think there does become this like brotherhood of quarterbacks, especially in your age range of like, I camped with like the two of them probably have camped together since they were in the 8th grade. Like they know each other extremely well. Of course you're going to find friends doing that.
True. Well, all right. That was our medium warm topics. Let's get into our hot topics. Like what I did there, Dan? Doesn't look like it. All right. I get the nod of approval. We'll take it. Hot topic number 1. Stance on vacating wins. We saw today Michigan State had 14 wins vacated, I believe from the years of 2022 through 2024 due to 3 ineligible players. Guys, their current head coach now has 0 Big Ten wins with now the vacated 14 wins. How do we feel about vacated wins?
I think it's absolutely stupid. We've already seen the games. We saw them won. With the University of Michigan, they vacated all the wins of the Fab Five. Like, I mean, what are we doing? I mean, we saw the games. We know they won. Like, they vacated the games that Reggie Bush won at USC. They vacated all those wins for Bobby Bowden to knock him out of first place. I think it's dumb. Like, you're going to go back and retroactively punish somebody because you were dumb and couldn't figure it out when it was happening. Like, to me, I'm 100% supportive and behind it. If you catch them in the act and say, hey, listen, your wins this year, no, you don't have them anymore. Like, and we're going to give them to the other team and change the outcome of the season. Like, I get that. But like vacating wins that don't mean anything, like, are you going to go back and be like, listen, guys, we're going to get all these guys back on campus and replay this championship game because now this team's not in it. USC doesn't play for the national championship anymore. So, and then the other thing is they didn't award the championship to somebody else, right? They just vacate. Like, I just get perturbed when they go back years and vacate. Like I said, if it's in season, like, if they were to come out tomorrow and be like, hey, listen, DeBoer is cheating his ass off, and we just found out, and Alabama has to vacate all of their wins from this season, and they're not eligible to play in the postseason. All right, I got you. Like, you caught him in the act. Let's go. But hey, back in 2017, Kirby gave a kid a piece of pizza, and that kid was ineligible. So every game that he played in, he's ineligible. Like that. Well, like, what's the point? I just don't get it. I mean, maybe you guys have a different opinion. I think it's the dumbest thing ever.
How do you feel about vacating championships and individual awards? Like, we all know USC was the team of the early 2000s, but all those wins don't stand in history anymore. They don't count. Reggie Bush's Heisman is up until recently
I was about to say it's been reinstated.
Yeah, up until recently it was a vacant Heisman.
But they didn't give it to somebody else. That's
correct.
They didn't give it to the
second. They didn't award it to the person that finished second place that year. They just took it from Reggie. I'm with Dan on this pretty heavily, actually. Like, I think that there should be maybe a set timeline that if you were suspicious on something, you maybe could go back and say, hey, like, we're looking into this. But, I mean, it's no different than like with the Michigan scandal, right? Like, you look into it. You give some no-show clauses, you fine them some money. But, like, Michigan still is the national champion 2 years ago. That will never change. Like, no matter what you do now, they're not going to take that national championship away from Michigan and give it to anybody else. Even if they say the school can't claim it. I mean, schools claim national championships all the time. I mean, look at Auburn this past offseason. They claim like 3 more national championships just kind of out of the blue. It's just like, hey, look at that. We actually won 3 national championships 60-something years ago. Now we're going to treat them like I'm with you. I mean, Michigan State, like, and that's the other thing, too. Like, the sins of the previous coach impact the current coach. Where does that make sense, right? Like, things that Mel Tucker did and a student athlete that the coach maybe wasn't aware was not eligible per the NCAA, and now you have 10 less wins, 12 less wins. Like, whoop-de-doo. Like you're saying, To me, they could be trying to fix problems now, not worry about sweeping up problems under rugs from 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. And then they take too long too, right? Like if you had an investigation under Mel Tucker, I mean, he hadn't been the coach at Michigan State in 3 seasons. Like, how does it take that long to figure out what's going on?
Yeah, I'm with y'all here. I don't think vacating wins from the past, like vacating wins maybe 5 or 6 years after the fact. I mean, heck, even a year or two after the fact, like it's already done and dusted. We know who won those games. We watched those games. I'm with Dan. I think where it's effective is like if it's you catch him in the act, like the Michigan sign stealing scandal. If you caught him in the act and decide you want to vacate all those Michigan wins in that season, then go ahead and do it. Do it in season where it actually matters. But you're not punishing anybody but the current players when you do it after the fact.
Or like Ohio State, right? Like we all think about the Ohio State, like they were an unbelievable team. What was it, 2007, 2008? I forget which year it was, but they were under
interim time.
They were under NCAA sanctions for taking improper benefits of majority of the team, so they had a postseason ban. They went 12-0 that year, 13-0, I think. Maybe they weren't eligible to play in the conference championship, but whatever. I mean, they were undefeated. Should have played in a national championship that year, but they didn't because they had a postseason ban. Like, that's a perfect example, Dan, of like they still got the 12 wins that year, but you weren't eligible to play for a national championship. I mean, that's the kind of thing that kind of gets people's attention going forward, not going back and taking back wins.
Or giving a TV ban. You hit them where it hurts.
That's actually making pay back some TV money. Not a bad deal. Not a bad idea. Because then it really, really pains the school. So
hit them where it hurts. I mean, nobody cares that Michigan State lost 14 wins, I promise.
Yeah. All right. Last hot topic of the day. And I have no clue how I'm going to answer this. So, Dan, I'm going to go. Actually, no. We'll let Kobe go first. What's the worst smell in the world?
The worst smell in the world. The worst smell I've ever smelled has been a meat freezer in South Georgia that's gone bad for about 2 weeks before somebody cracked it open. It had probably a doe and a half worth of deer meat, a bobcat that was in there to be stuffed in the wintertime, and probably like 6 or 7 pounds of shrimp and some fish. And it rotted out in the South Georgia heat for about 100 degrees for 2 weeks before somebody came across it. I'd say that's probably the worst smell. I vomited a couple times cleaning that freezer out that day.
So I have heard the worst smell on earth is a dead body. I have not actually been around a decomposed dead body, but I have heard from many people in law enforcement that I know that are my friends that if you come up on a dead body, it's the worst smell. But the worst smell I've ever smelled is, have you ever been like to the beach and for whatever reason, there's that sulfur smell in the air and like, it's just so bad. Like, I mean, it's so like, it'll make you want to vomit and sometimes, but like that sulfur smells so bad. But go ahead, Harrison, and I'll tell you why I thought of this question.
I don't even have an answer, to be honest. Like, that I've personally experienced.
I know what Jeremiah would say.
Yeah, I know what Jeremiah would say too. Which is honestly, I was like, damn. All right, Dan. I honestly don't know. I mean, I've smelled some really raw seafood, like the things they put in jars that you see people like, I'm gonna eat the most smelliest, worst tasting seafood in the world. And that makes me want to vomit. It makes me want to gag. I've also been around the septic tanks when they open it. That talk about, geez. Yeah, just thinking about it. It's funny after being around that and seeing that happen in person. You see these Instagram accounts of the septic tank people cleaners and like, ooh, poop smoothie. I'm like, smells like money. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. It does not smell like money. But anyways, back over to you, Dan. What made you think of this? What's awful, god-awful smell made you think of this?
So all day on 680 The Fan, they were all really angry at Kelly Kroll because she was cooking egg whites in the microwave and she went back to her show and left the microwave running. So there was burnt egg whites and it stunk up the studio the entire day, going on 12 hours that all the hosts coming in were just gagging and complaining about it. So they were asking what the worst smell is. And obviously half the stuff that people called in and said you can't really say, but
Hey, creative segment from our guy Dan. Gentlemen, that might be one of the fastest hot topics we've done in quite a bit. Usually hot topics take up like 20 minutes sometimes. And we just took up about like 8. Because like the first 5 minutes was about 5 to 7 minutes was about our medium warm topics that I just kind of cooked, half baked. But massive matchup this weekend, Sanford Stadium. Number 10 Texas comes into town to face number 5 Georgia. Playoff implications, they may say. Obviously, Texas is fighting for their life. Georgia can afford to lose this one as long as they beat Texas or Georgia Tech in late November. Kobe made a face. Is that true? Is the narrative true? Does 10-2 Georgia make the college football playoffs?
It's tight, right? Like I think head ball coach would tell you you control your own destiny right now. You win the games in front of you, and you are in control of your own destiny. You lose this one, you're gonna need some help, right? Like I think that the way they're setting up that bottom piece of the bracket, like I look at the two players in the SEC championship have to be in. So Alabama, Texas A&M. If Texas beats you, then to me Texas has the head-to-head with you, and so they're the third team in. And then you also have Ole Miss. So then you have 4 teams already in a 12-team playoff. You're gonna have Indiana in. You're gonna have to have Ohio State in. You're gonna have to probably have Oregon in at this point. You're going to have the winner of the ACC and the winner of the group of 5. So you're talking about, and Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame has positioned themselves quite snugly in already. No, I don't think you can lose this. I don't think beating Georgia Tech is a big enough victory based on the way the schedule looks at this point. I think this is a must-win for both teams for playoff hopes, in my opinion, right now.
And real quick, there is I guess, in terms of talking about all these spots, if Georgia does lose this game, which we're not going to spend much time on like that scenario, though, this is like a overarching picture of this, obviously, so we want to talk about it just a little bit. If Georgia loses this game, and obviously the game with Texas or Georgia Tech at the end of the year will be a top, you would assume if Georgia Tech stays ranked, would still be a top 15 matchup. Georgia would essentially, the only way the ACC maybe gets screwed in all this is if it comes down to Duke, who's 5-4 overall, but 4-1 in the ACC, wins the ACC championship game. And then it comes down to resume matchups between Georgia and Miami, assuming Miami is the highest ranked ACC team remaining. In that scenario, would love for them to have a playing game between Georgia and Miami so we can just have the storylines and all that for a week.
The problem is you've already guaranteed 5 highest ranked conference champions. So even if it's not the ACC, right? Even if Duke wins the ACC, it would either be so you have Big 10, SEC, Big 12, but then you would have theoretically either the Sun Belt, the AAC, like any of those teams would also be eligible because all it says is the highest ranked 5 conference winners. Doesn't necessarily have to be Power 5 conference winners. So if Duke ends up being ranked behind Tulane, then Tulane gets the nod, right? So I think that's the hard thing. And personally, Dan, and we can talk about it because I'm definitely from an older thought process. Like if we lace them bad boys up on Saturday night, I want to win, damn it.
Oh, he did it. Oh, he did it to himself. Damn it, boy.
So is Georgia out with a win? Yeah, with a loss. That's what we're really talking about. And they say you lose 2 games now. That's the theory, that you can lose 2 games. Georgia's at 5. We've seen teams get penalized pretty heavily for losing, but not the teams that they don't want to fall. Like, we've seen some teams not fall very far at all. So I don't know. I think, to your point, how much does the Georgia Tech win help if you were able to beat them? I think if it's close, Georgia might be able to eke in, but I don't want to live in that world. I just really don't. I think it's one of those things where this game's in front of you. Take care of business. Like you said, Kobe, if you're going to lace them up, you might as well win the damn football game. This is a very winnable game for Georgia. I don't think Texas has looked outstanding. I'm sure we'll talk a lot about that. But to answer your question, if Georgia loses this game, are they automatically out? I wouldn't say automatically, but you're living in a world that I don't want to live in. I'll say that.
And I don't think it certainly – I think it would hurt Georgia a little bit if your 2 losses both come at home in all places. Like, you win – if you lose one on the road or in a neutral site, like, it's a little more forgiving. But losing both home games versus 2 top 10 ranked teams. Granted, you have a top 6 win or 7 win versus Ole Miss. That certainly doesn't help you having that both losses at home. But let's talk about Texas. It's been an interesting season, to say the least. They were the preseason number 1 coming into the year, the favorite to win the national championship. They had the next Tim Tebow or Joe Burrow, whatever Paul Feinbaum called him, in the preseason at quarterback in Arch Manning. Football royalty, almost as royal as Kobe Pierce on this show in terms of legendary stuff. And that quickly kind of fell. Obviously, you had the 14-7 loss in the season opener versus Ohio State. And Texas offensive line didn't look particularly great. The Texas offense didn't look particularly good. But, hey, write it off. It's Ohio State. It was going to be a tough game. You lost by 1 score, had a ball last in that game. You lost it. Then you go on the road to Florida a couple weeks later. Offense still doesn't look great. Defense is the Texas defense. They're one of the top units. Then you lose in the swamp to a basically fired head coach, and your offensive line gets absolutely demolished, and you have no run game in that spot. Your defense gives up some explosives on the ground. And now fast forward a few weeks later, you rebound with wins over Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, both good, controlling wins, decisive wins, and then you have to come from behind before that to beat Mississippi State on the road. Gentlemen, it feels like if you asked me 4 weeks ago, my prediction on this game, I would have said Georgia by two touchdowns. But now with the way Texas has gathered some momentum, this feels like very much what it felt like coming into the season in terms of this is going to be a 1-score game.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the momentum is picking up at the right time for Texas, but at the same time, Georgia's starting to play better too. So, I think the biggest thing to note is that Georgia wasn't playing well, but they found a way to win games. Texas didn't play well, and they found a way to lose games. But now, both teams are starting to play better. I think we're in for a really good football game. And, one of the things that a lot of people talk about is you don't want to be playing your best football at the beginning of the season. You want to be playing your best football at the end of the season. And there have been times where Georgia hasn't been playing their very best football towards the back half of the season. But I really feel like with this particular team, it's just been growing. And it's like a Lego tower, right? Like that foundation was built and they started adding some pieces. And now I feel like we're starting to build that tower up and it ain't getting ready to fall. Whereas some of those games earlier in the year, even you can go back and watch some of our old shows. I mean, we weren't 100% certain exactly what we were going to get on any given Saturday. I think we're getting, and I don't want to speak for you guys, but me personally, I feel like I'm getting more and more confident as the season goes. But then Texas, they had some real issues. I mean, would you agree? They had some real issues earlier in the season, one of which was their quarterback, who is supposed to be the savior of the universe, wasn't playing elite level football. but he's getting better. He's getting more confident, and that's to be expected. Very much in the same way at Gunner, right? I mean, granted, the expectations are completely different for the two quarterbacks, but the programs are the same as far as the expectations for both programs. So you have two very different quarterbacks from two very different worlds, but they're kind of coming to a point, and they're going to meet here in Athens on Saturday night. And I think you couldn't ask for a better ball game, a better scenario, a better environment, and just a better narrative, right? You have the silver spoon quarterback who is here, and then you have the blue collar salt of the earth quarterback who had to fight every odd and every obstacle to get here, but they're both in the same place, leading an elite team in a game that they've got to win.
I love it, Dan. I'm with you on that. I mean, it's one of those things. I think so many people were ready to write Arch off after one start against Ohio State in a game that they lost by 7 points. A team that has been the unanimous number one team the entire year, right? From the jump. I guess Texas was number one in that game, but since then, from the jump, right? I think the biggest thing, and I echo the head ball coach here I think the biggest factor in this game for me is where its location, right? We're in Athens. It's at night. If I'm looking at historically last season, this season, for the Dogs, for Texas, right? It is hard to play on the road in the SEC. It's hard, i.e. Alabama at Oklahoma last year, i.e. Georgia at Ole Miss last year, Ole Miss at Georgia this year, Texas at Florida this year. It's just Georgia at Auburn even. I mean, it's just not easy to play on the road, period, in the SEC. For whatever reason, the demons start to kind of creep out on people. And I think that when I look at Texas's schedule, I look at their stats, I look at how many points they've scored, at Ohio State, loss. At Florida, loss. At Kentucky, 3-point win in overtime. At Mississippi State, a win in overtime. I'm not sure that 3-point win versus Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt is a win, right? Like, I think that's the continuation of what I'm kind of looking at for them, and even for us this year, right? Like, where have our close games been? At Tennessee, at Auburn. On the road, it's just hard to get it done. I think the fact that we're home, I think we're going to be able to kind of control the way the game goes and ebbs and flows. Like you're saying, Arch is still a young quarterback that's going to have to process a lot from an elite level defense on the other side. So I look forward to it. I agree with you. I think this late in the season, it has set up a lot more like what we thought it would be in the preseason than what maybe we thought it would be after the Florida game for them.
And look at this. Credit to Orange Bloods. I saw this graphic they put out, and I was like, hey, this is good way of putting information in terms of comparing the stats. I know it's a little bit hard to see. But like Georgia, who would have thought in the preseason Georgia would have the quarterback edge statistically in this matchup coming into it? Gunner's playing some really damn good football right now. And like 69.4 completion percentage, 22 total touchdowns, only 2 picks. Like, Gunner's playing some of his best ball, and I feel like he's coming off of his best games. Like, I think from, what was it? Kobe, Dan, maybe help me out here. Where was it where it felt like to y'all that he started to turn the corner? For me, it's the second half of that Auburn game is where I feel like some of the like decisions in terms of, ooh, you're missing this, you're missing that, like you're turning this down, you're turning that down. I feel like it kind of stopped maybe in the second half of that Auburn game, started playing with a little bit more urgency, started to let it rip. And I think from that game on, we've seen a different quarterback. The quarterback that went on the road to Mississippi State and had one of his better games. The quarterback that, I'm trying to think, obviously there was that moment versus Tennessee, dropped that absolute dime to London Humphreys. I know that was earlier in the year, but Gunner Stockton's been, I think it's been the Auburn game. We've just seen a much more decisive, accurate, like confident quarterback.
What about the Oklahoma game? Because that's their biggest game of the year. What are your thoughts on that?
For Texas, how they played?
Yeah.
I mean, they played like it was their Super Bowl. I mean, they
Yeah.
played an unbelievable game. They impacted John Mateer. They ran the ball. They kept. I mean, Oklahoma barely did anything. Like if I'm looking at that, John Mateer threw for 202. They only ran the ball for 48 yards. And then I would say like Arch and them did enough to win. Like he only threw for 166 and one touchdown, and then they ran the ball for 136 yards on the ground. But I just think they were so suffocating on the defense. That was the thing for them that game. I mean, Oklahoma just couldn't do anything to pressure Texas.
But that's why I kind of brought that up, is because you had a Texas team that didn't put that, and the reason I brought it up is because they didn't put that game on Arch's shoulders, right? They were like, hey, listen, we're going to do everything really, really well to where our quarterback has to just do enough. And I wonder if that's the mentality coming here to Athens, where with the height of expectations and the light of the world focused on Athens, which I guess is really not focused on Athens because game day is not even coming here. They're going to Pitt, Notre Dame. That's a freaking great game. Anyway, that's the reason I asked about that particular game, to see what you guys' thoughts is, because to me, that's the blueprint for Texas. If they want to win this football game, we've got to be elite at what we do defensively and not put all of this on our quarterback's shoulders. Because I don't know, and maybe I'm wrong, and I could be completely. If I'm wrong, I will come on the show Saturday, Sunday, and I will stand in the paint. But I don't see this where Texas doesn't play well in other areas and Arch just carries the game. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he's not capable. That's just not how it plays out in my mind. How it plays out in my mind is Arch does a good job of running the offense, of just doing what he's supposed to do, just be a great orchestrator. And then they play extremely well defensively, force a couple turnovers, and their offense runs the football efficiently. That's how I see them winning the football game. But again, if I'm wrong, I'll come stand in the paint. I don't have any issues with that at all. Actually, I might not show up if we freaking lose because I'll be so pissed. But
I'm a little different. Like I don't think Arch needs to be Superman and needs to 2011 Cam Newton this for Texas. But I don't think there's a world where Texas is coming into this game thinking they're going to be able to run the football efficiently. I think they know.
They haven't run the ball efficiently all year.
They're ranked 90. They're ranked, I think, 92nd in the nation in rushing yards per game. Like, they haven't done that well at all. Their offensive line's been a struggle. I think for them, where this is, they're going to have to put it on the quarterback to go win them the game, in terms of he's going to have to get this passing game together and to navigate whatever protection issues they have up front. They made some changes to their starting five, I believe, versus the Vanderbilt. In the Vanderbilt game, they have a new five. They moved their center to guard, and then I guess brought somebody off the bench to play at the center spot and shored up the interior, it seems like. But to me, it's Arch going to have to throw for probably 300 yards to win this game, Kobe.
They still only ran for 100 yards against Vandy. And Arch did throw for 300 yards.
Yeah, I think that's where this
and 3 tutties. And, like you're saying, I look at it, Dan, I'm with you on your mindset of if this was a Kirby Smart-led offense with a young quarterback, he's going to roll into town and say, I'm going to try to get the quarterback to not lose me this game. I'm going to put it on the defense. I'm going to try to establish the run. I think the hard part is if you're Sarkisian or if you're anybody historically against a Kirby Smart-led team, I don't know that I can name you a mediocre to average. I don't know. Mediocre is kind of a harsh word, but an average game at quarterback that led to a win against Georgia, right? Like I just don't know that I can, maybe outside of like the Auburn game in 2017, where, I mean, everything just fell apart on you. I'm not sure that there's been many games that you've just kind of rolled up and bully balled us in the box and beat us to sleep. It typically takes a pretty above average to borderline excellent quarterback game. So, like you're saying, if I'm Texas, I'm having to try to figure out a way to get Arch rolling and get him rolling hot. Vice versa, if I'm Kirby, He's a young quarterback. It's still like less than his 10th or 12th start in the SEC. You got to make him uncomfortable early and often, and he's got to be double guessing and looking over shoulders all game.
Well, I mean, last year in the SEC championship game, when he came in the game, they tuned him up. I mean, they're like, "Here comes big boy, figure it out," and he couldn't. And he sat in the sideline and went.
That was the game in Austin.
Was that the game in Austin?
That was the game in Austin. He played in the SEC championship, but it was for the
It was like one play,
the fourth and short. Yeah, it was the fourth and short. They snapped it between the
which is everything I needed to know about him. Like as rough of a time as they were kind of having at that point, like the fact they weren't running two quarterbacks is like they just liked what they had in Ewers, which I respect. I mean, I respect Sarkisian for staying true to that.
Heck, Georgia fans know all about the liking your veteran starter and then having that 5-star, big name behind him. So we've been on that side of the debate. Kobe, you were talking about Arch and obviously how Georgia wants to go about getting after him, because we assume this is going to be, if you go back and you look at the three of Georgia's closest games, and you look at the quarterbacks on the opposite side, Ty Simpson, Joey Aguilar, and
Trinidad Chambliss.
Trinidad Chambliss.
Okay.
All of them over 30 passing attempts. All of them. Every single one of them. And I believe all three of them had rushing touchdowns. So the only one that made the difference between the three was Joey Aguilar had a turnover. The other two did. How does Georgia go about affecting Arch Manning? Because I saw this stat today, which was interesting because, we've talked about it before in terms of Georgia fans hate screens. Well, look, this is a matchup stat from CJ Vogel. These two quarterbacks on both sides attempt the most passes behind the line of scrimmage in the SEC this season. Both of them.
I think that has a lot to say with their offensive coordinator and what they believe diagnosing strengths in their offense versus their defense. Like, I think Ryan Wingo obviously is a shifty guy that you want to get the ball in his hand immediately and let him go make plays in space. No different than Zachariah Branch, right? Like, you have guys that are difference makers on the outside. You have to think of unique and creative ways to get them the ball in space without throwing them a 10-yard route every single time. Tackling in space is always going to be a big deal, right? Like, I mean, there were some tackles in space last year that saved an SEC championship game for you. So I think it'll be interesting. I still just believe Georgia's ability to run the ball and possibly Texas's inability to run the ball is really going to be what is the difference in this game, even compared to the games last year a little bit. But even in the games last year, I mean, Texas was the number one rushing offense in the SEC and had trouble running the ball.
And Georgia's in the 90s.
Could you imagine being the other way around? Could you imagine being now in the hundreds and thinking we're going to have a good rushing game?
I mean, look, Georgia was in the 90s in running last year on offense, and Texas defense was top 10 rushing defense. And Georgia's those were two of Georgia's better games running the football. Now it's Texas the number 2 run defense, and Georgia has a top 25 run game. Dan, you were about to say something. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. I mean, what is the one thing that we keep hearing all along is that the screen game is the extension of the run game, and with the way that Georgia's been able to run the ball, that is a great bonus going in the game because you can control the clock, you can limit opportunities, but then also, what if we talked about all year long with the screens? It's like, I understand why you don't like them, but when they're blocked well, they're extremely impressive and they're effective. What was the screen in this past game? Because I was trying to pinpoint it, and I, for some reason, I must have missed it or whatever, but Kirby took a shot at the media because I guess the screen hit really, really big during the game. Which one was it?
I want to say there was a Zachariah Branch one where I believe it was Delp made a big, big block. It was either Delp or Dylan Bell.
It was a big gainer.
Big gainer. Might have been a touchdown. I think he got in the end zone off that.
I don't.
Anyways,
I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's my point. Is that if it's blocked well, it's effective. But if they're going to run them too, then at the same time, we have to prevent them from being blocked well. We have to play aggressive on them. I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know what they expect out of either one of these offenses because I have a feeling there's going to be a wrinkle in there that we haven't seen. I think with a game like this, I don't want to say Bobo's going to get tricky, but I think Bobo's going to be in his bag. I think we're going to see something. I don't think we're going to see the same thing that we've been seeing over and over again. I don't know. I mean, maybe you guys have a different take. Maybe you guys think that Bobo is who Bobo is and he's just going to do it. But one of the biggest criticisms of Bobo for years and years and years has been he just doesn't show up when we need him the most. Well, we didn't have a good game against Alabama. And here's another opportunity. And I think a lot of the critics of Bobo have really had to swallow their tongue here recently because Bobo's been very good. But he'll be on display. His play calling, the creativity of it, the continuity of it, the sequencing of it, and then like when you call certain things, right? It's like play calling is such an art that when somebody does it extremely well, it's noticeable. That's my take.
And he's been doing it really well this year. I mean, Dan, I think we were talking about it the other day. I've never seen so many people, Georgia media, like non-Georgia media people, like national media, talking about Bobo needs to be in the Broyles conversation. It's been a trend over the last few days since the Mississippi State game. We went back and watched that tape. Like, why is Bobo not in this conversation? Look, I know y'all talked about it on Sunday, but man, I'm excited to see how Georgia's offense creates matchups in this because last year you had no matchups on the perimeter that you felt confident in. You didn't have a Zachariah Branch. Heck, your tight ends were in and out of the game plan at times. Like, they were there in Tennessee, but really didn't make any plays versus Texas, like in either of the two games that I remember. Now you got those guys in the game plan making plays. You got Elias Williams making that big jump ball catch as a true freshman with the 6'7" frame. Like, I'm curious to see how Georgia creates those matchups because it feels like right now when you look at this, Georgia finally has pieces that threaten opposing defenses and put some fear. And just from what I was reading on the Inside Texas board doing a Q&A with them today, they're a little scared about their linebackers matching up in coverage with Georgia tight ends. Apparently, linebackers for Texas have been kind of exposed in the passing game.
I can tell you this, and this is what's crazy to think about. And you saying that just brought it right back in my brain. Last season, we played them twice, right? The only two people that scored in a Georgia uniform were Etienne and Peyton Woodward. That is it. That was it. Two games. Those are the only people that scored.
Best quarterback was Drew Bobo on the fake punt.
No doubt. But that is crazy to think about. And now we're talking about like, oh man, the wealth of riches. Like it could be Branch, it could be Thomas, it could be, Frazier, it could be Bowens, it could be Gunner on a Q. I think Q run's going to be a big part of this game. I think in the biggest games of the year, when you've got to have it, Bobo has leaned into the +1 in the Q run game. I expect the Q run game to be there. Maybe not all game, obviously, because you don't want him to get injured doing something stupid. But like, if you got to have a short yard here or there or a tricky yard, I mean, he's going to be available.
Well, and it's been early in games that they've used it, really. They've kind of like, they'll use it early on to open some things up, and then they don't, like, once they set up the threat that it's there, then they go to their traditional run game, too. Like, they've done it well.
So,
which is good because your quarterback's been, obviously taking some hits.
For sure. And that'll be Texas's thing, right? They're going to try to speed him up. They're going to try to make him make quick decisions. But the dude's a gamer, isn't he? Like, he takes those hits, and it's almost like it gets him laser focused. So
it makes that team laser focused. I'll tell you that.
I can't believe you said that, man. I was about to say the first player for Georgia to score a touchdown against Texas will be the first player other than Etienne to score a touchdown.
I'm so sorry.
No,
sorry,
that's
prop bet
that's
there's
hilarious.
A prop bet for y'all. Who's the first Georgia player to score a touchdown in this game? Or versus Texas? Not Etienne, obviously.
My guess would be Bowens.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I feel like we kind of go back and forth with the running backs. Like this game we run Bowens more. This game we run Frazier more. Frazier Bowens, Frazier Bowens. I think Bowens breaks a big one on them.
Oh, what would be a sneaky pick?
Oh,
Josh McCray.
Sneaky.
Exactly right. Either Bowens or Frazier gets us down inside the 5, and they bring in the big package, and McCray gets the first one.
The big package.
The man's got a big package.
Hey, listen, I love it when they got the fullback in the backfield.
Me
The
too.
jumbo set.
Dude, listen, breaking that ankle, breaking that ankle ruined
on the
breaking that ankle ruined the fullback for us on the year. They had Barbour in there. He runs it. They break the ankle. I don't know if we've seen a fullback since then, honestly.
Kirby, or they showed it. They showed it last week. They had it last week on that rollout, third down, where Gunner reverse field. It was McCray in at fullback running the flat, and then Gunner reverses it. Kirby was talking about this on Monday, talking about, man, he wishes they had Barbour healthy, because imagine the development of him and Elias Williams. Like, Georgia would be 4 deep at tight end, and 2 of them are freshmen. Then you have 2, a senior and a junior. Not to mention you also have Jaden Riddell, who got some run last week when Lucky went out. Like, it sucks for, obviously, Barbour as a true freshman, but also for Georgia's offense. Like, Georgia's could be even more multiple this year if they had both of them. And
Riddell has actually lined up in a fullback spot at a couple different times this year too. Well, maybe not necessarily a traditional fullback, but like an H-back where he's in the backfield.
Can we bring back the D tackle touchdown? Can we or the nose tackle touchdown? Can we?
Yeah, but who would you give it to? Like, we don't. I mean, Jalen Carter was extremely athletic. I mean, he was quick, right?
Nothing was funnier than Jordan Davis against Charleston Southern or whoever that was on senior night or senior day. he gets cut from under. He just flops over the goal line.
Yeah, I was going to say, the one thing that you had, like, it's okay to be big or whatever, but you have to be kind of sudden. And, like, I don't know that we necessarily have that big defensive lineman who's got that suddenness to him, because, I mean, that's just, like, the number one trait of a running back, right, is that they're extremely sudden, that they're able to move. And just being big doesn't necessarily do anything for you. So I don't know which defensive back we would give it to. I mean, I'm sorry, not defensive back. You know what I meant, defensive lineman. Like, I mean, Christian Miller, maybe?
If you're going to give it to a defensive back, you're giving it to KJ Bolden.
Well, he's done it plenty in his career.
Yeah. I would have loved to see Malachi Starks as Wildcat quarterback at some point in his Georgia career. That would have been a sight. Would have been throwback to Dan covering him on Friday nights.
I still say one of the funniest stats ever is that Gunner was 0 for 2 against Malachi Starks as starting quarterback.
That's crazy. It's crazy. We got an injury report. I saw the look in Kobe's eyes, kind of read his mind telepathically. He was like, injury report. And I said, I got you. So I put this in our private chat, but obviously nobody on the injury report for Texas, as it screws up. No one on the injury report for Texas.
That's crazy.
They had Michael Taff and Jelani McDonald, the two starting safeties, out in the win over Vanderbilt. They are now off the injury report, completely ready to go. Georgia, obviously the same names that have been out for the last few weeks, and then probable. Good news here. Obviously, they had come out and indicated that Lawson was going to be fine and ready to go. Good to see that he's probable for the game. I wonder if by Friday or the Saturday report, if he's just completely off of it. Not sure what happened to Josh Horton. That'll be something I'll have to go dig on, see if someone's posted about that on the vent. But nonetheless, probable is, as it suggests, you're banking on those guys playing in these games.
And we have nobody questionable, huh?
Nobody questionable.
Gotta love that, because that includes DeMello Jones. Because
who's off of it? Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I mean, didn't see DeMello on there at all, which is great.
It'll be interesting to see what Texas personnel-wise does in this game, because it seems like over the last few weeks they've shifted to being more of an 11 personnel football team, which obviously, like, from Georgia's perspective, Kobe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like you kind of want them to get into heavier sets, because then you can get an extra linebacker on the field, like you can have C.J. Allen, Raylan Wilson, then add in a Chris Cole or a Justin Williams. When they go 11, you're going to be more 4-2-5, more nickel-based defense.
Like you're saying, I think that Texas is going to want to have as many fast bodies out on the field as possible for as long as possible. And if that's not in the tight end, then that's part of Kirby's gamble sometimes, right? Like, we will leave heavy personnel in if we run certain zones. Like, you've seen outside linebackers drop into like some buzz flats and some zones, some coverages. It's not the most ideal thing to be doing, but sometimes it's the thing you have to do to have the right personnel in to stop the run. You have to be able to, have that guy be a super good athlete, which luckily we have a lot of really good athletes outside linebacker. But every once in a while it catches you. You have a Raylan Wilson or someone covering a receiver or running back outside. That'll be interesting. I mean, if Texas gets into heavy personnel, I don't think they're going to be able to out heavy us inside the tackles, right? Like, it's just not typically something people have success with.
You're not going to out big package Georgia, as Dan would say, right?
Typically not. I would say very rarely. I mean, even Alabama didn't just line up in heavy personnel and run the ball down your throat all night. I mean, that's just not what you're going to do against the way he's built this defense. You're going to have to get the ball out in space and catch somebody either missing a tackle, being lined up improperly, having too big of a cushion off of a receiver. I don't see Texas, especially with their struggles, I don't see Texas just lining up in heavy personnel and trying to run numerous plays out of heavy to get the run game going or set up the play action pass or anything like that.
One of the things that Harrison said earlier in the week was that he thinks that Georgia's going to spy Arch. So he was wondering where the pressure is going to come from. I don't know if they're going to spy him, Harrison. Like, I don't know if that's the I think they're going to want to put pressure on him, and I don't know that they're going to spy. Kobe, what do you have? Like, which way do you lean? Do you think they're going to spy, or do you think they're going to just bring pressure?
I wouldn't spy his ass till he burns you. He burns you one time, I may throw a spy, but until he burns you, I'm coming after him. Because
is Georgia coming out in the double mug bear front looks that they showed last year? Is that how you start this? Like, we talk about, seems like Georgia's been more reactive on defense.
I'm ready for the cat blitz. I mean, you think about that opening defensive drive at Texas. It was like we played with our damn hair on fire. It was like Schumann was like, what if we just blitzed everyone?
The man had a child that week, too. He was in the hotel grinding tape.
He's like, what if we just brought everybody and see what happens? You know what I mean? Like, I think we haven't had a corner blitz from the boundary that's gotten home in a while. I mean, that completely changed the way Quinn played the rest of that first half. So
it's got smoked.
I think, especially with a team like I think you saw it last week, right? Like Kirby would laugh. I think, I don't know, maybe he'd cuss me out for saying this, but when the trend has been you've struggled maybe on that first opening drive of the game, no matter what, why not just dial them up and see if you cause some chaos? Like, if you get home on one of those blitzes last week from Raylan and punch that ball out and get a fumble, you've gotten off the field, you got the ball, you got a big momentum havoc play going your way. What's better, like taking some chances and really just shocking their system, or kind of allowing that bend but don't break and hope you get it going? I mean, obviously the head ball coach is going to play for the 4 quarters. It's a 60-minute game, but I do think you could really impact Texas's mental game if you got after them early.
Never mind. I thought Dan was up to speak. We've reached that point in the show. I was over here getting picks ready because my man Dan has yawned like 6,000 times in the last 10 minutes.
I swear to God, it's between 8 and 9 o'clock. I just start yawning like crazy, and then I don't go to sleep at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and then I stay up to 11, and then I'm wired. I don't know what it is. It's just like that one time of night. It's just weird.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up then. We'll go ahead and hit some picks. Boys, we got some games this weekend. I don't really like necessarily any of these spreads. We got some close spreads, but we also have a good mix of some multiple touchdown spreads. Let's start on Friday night at Louisville. Clemson goes on the road to Louisville. Louisville is a 2.5-point favorite in this game. Obviously, Clemson's a game under 500. Louisville's coming off a disappointing loss. Who do you got in this game?
I mean, I always pick Clemson. I don't know why. I guess I'll pick Clemson.
I agree. I think Clemson, for all their flaws, right? Clemson's still Clemson. Dabo's still Dabo. Like it's just the kind of game that toward down the stretch of a season he ends up winning. Louisville had their big win against Miami. I just think that you kind of see what Louisville more is after the loss last week. I think they lose a game to Clemson this week as well. And you start to ask yourself, if he rights his ship and ends up 7-5, 8-4, does Dabo stick around?
It's the same thing with Tommy Tuberville Tommy Bowden when he was there. It's just that he just wins enough games, and then you can't fire him. That's why.
Maybe I suck at this because the games I pick here, thinking that I will be the only one to pick a team, end up being we're unanimous on it. I was taking Clemson plus 2.5 here, thinking they're going to take Louisville because it just seems like the wheels are falling off Clemson. And this was going to be the ACC's chaotic. The ACC is going to hurt itself again, and Clemson's going to win this game somehow. So I'm taking Louisville to cover. Let's keep it in the South. Let's go Alabama host Oklahoma. Alabama is a 5.5-point favorite. Again, this is a playoff implicating matchup. OU's the desperate team in this case with 2 losses. Who do you all got? Then again, they come off a win over Tennessee.
If Kalen's wearing the black hoodie, he hasn't lost in it. So, and he said he's going to wear it in every game until he does. So, until he does, it's Alabama.
I thought we were about to get a Bama Dan right there. I thought we were about to get it.
This is one of those weird games, kind of like our game, where it's like new SEC versus old SEC, right? Like it's the two old kids on the block versus the 2 cool new kids in the SEC, right? Oklahoma, Texas, they both got pretty favorable schedules the first 2 years in the conference. They didn't really either have to travel a lot last year. It just feels like the fact that Oklahoma cost Alabama the playoffs last year, I just feel like DeBoer and them are going to come in with their hair on fire. Now, I think it's going to be a really, really good game, but I think Alabama ends up winning this game probably by a touchdown of 10 points. I think it would be like you're going to need a John Mateer Heisman level moment where he throws for 300 and rushes for 100 for them to be able to win.
I'm with you. I have Alabama covering the -5.5. I don't see Alabama losing again the rest of this year. I think they go undefeated the rest of the way into the SEC championship, I should say, which I assume they're going to be playing Texas A&M in that game, which should make for an interesting game. Next, USC host. Oh crap! I just lost it. Where'd it go? USC host Iowa. Top 25 matchup. USC's at home. USC is a 6.5-point favorite. Spoiler alert. I have USC -6.5. I know Iowa was impressive last week versus Oregon. Took Oregon to the limit, but I can't take Iowa in good conscience.
Go ahead, Kobe.
He's going to take the Hawkeyes.
What is it, 6.5?
6.5.
See, that's a friendly line right there.
Very friendly.
I think that Iowa covers that line. Iowa covered that line against Indiana, and Iowa covered that line against Oregon. If I'm just rolling with what I've seen, I think Oregon and Indiana are better than USC. I think at this point, like they beat. Lost to Oregon by 2, lost to Indiana by 5. It's not going to be a high-scoring affair. it'll be a tight game, maybe a field goal game at the best, maybe like 20-17. But Iowa gets it done. Covering, not saying they get it done to win, but they cover this game.
USC at home. Iowa has to travel all the way out to the West Coast. There is not a cornfield in sight. I think USC, that's one of those things with USC this year is that sometimes they look good, sometimes they don't. I think Iowa really shot their shot last week with Oregon. I think they really, really wanted to try to pull that one off in the rain. I think USC is able to win by 10 points.
All right, y'all are really going to hammer him over this one, but try to keep it to one-score spreads. This one's, I don't know. I know who Kobe's picking for this. Penn State goes on the road to East Lansing to the vacated Michigan State Spartans. Penn State is a 7.5-point favorite on the road. I'm taking that. I'm sorry. I'm taking Michigan State to cover 7.5. I don't think they win, but they cover.
Hell no. Hammer that, dude. Michigan State is horrible.
Penn State might be horrible.
No.
Penn State looked good last week.
They looked good last week.
No. They're gonna run the damn ball. Penn State may have 300 yards on the ground in East Lansing. It'll be I'm thinking like 34-7. I mean, it's going to be nasty.
I'm in the same boat. If we're taking on water, I don't see it.
All right. Last one. Texas at Georgia. Georgia is a 5.5-point favorite right now, according to ESPN Bet. Before Dan tells me there's a different line out there, ESPN Bet has them 5.5. Gentlemen?
ESPN Bet has been closed. It doesn't exist anymore. They're folding their services.
It exists.
It's going away, but it doesn't matter. And I'm never going to come on this show and pick the other damn team. Yeah, you out of your effing mind? Go Dogs. Listen, we've been waiting for a complete game. We got really close to a complete game last week against Mississippi State, so much so that we were able to get a lot of our young guys in, rest some of our guys, and Kirby said, I don't know if that's really rest because once you played, you played. But I think there is some value into getting some of the young guys some reps. This is as healthy as Georgia has been all year long. I'm not going to say the healthiest because obviously we have some pretty good players that are not going to be in the football game. But if Georgia is as good as we think they are, if Georgia is a legitimate contender this year, this is a game that Georgia is going to win at home, 7 o'clock at night, in Sanford Stadium, with the lights, Superman playing in the fourth quarter. Like, let's freaking go, bro. Like, let's freaking go. Like, hammer the shit out of them. I'm ready for it.
I'm with you. I think I'm in the same boat as Dan. I'm in the same boat as I was against Ole Miss, right? I think we had that eerily similar 5.5, 6-ish line that floated around. Yeah. I think I'm in the same boat, right? Like, if the Dogs win, they have to cover that line, in my opinion. If you're in a 3-point field goal kicking contest with Texas late in this game, I'm feeling a lot worse than I am. In my mind, that this is a touchdown to a 2-touchdown game for the Dogs. I think being at home still is just so wildly underrated at night in the SEC. It's just going to be tough to get stuff going if you're Texas. I see the fellas playing a pretty complete game, and it could be not ugly. I'm not going to say that Texas may not lead in this game. I'm not saying it may not be close at some point. I'm not even saying it won't be close in the second half, but I just think that you're going to have enough. You're going to have what it takes to win this game by at least 10.
Well, damn.
Go ahead and pick Texas, you little Texas fan, you.
I have Georgia covering, but I have this 28-24 final. So I don't have Georgia covering.
I was about to say.
Photoshop. That's a pretty good Photoshop. I'll give you credit.
That's Harrison with his little Texas thing on.
Crazy.
It's a great Photoshop. I gotta give Dan credit. I have a 28-24 Georgia. I think it's a 4-point game.
Pick
I think
in
maybe
Texas.
I think maybe they get a score late in this game. Texas does make it cover, but I did 28-24 earlier. I'm not changing on that one. We'll see. There's still more time till Friday when I have to officially lock in the pick. So, but anyways,
Dan, you got a score real quick. 28-24, Texas fan. What you got, Dan?
That's crazy.
28-17.
Oh, I like it. I like 34-17 because we love kicking
Ooh.
field goals. I can't pick a game that we don't kick a field goal.
Oh shit, you're right. 31. 31.
I can't pick a game that like we're not going to kick any field goals, coach. Absolutely fucking not.
Question is, does Texas
Coach
miss
is
a field
first
goal in
and
this
goal.
game?
Send him out.
Say again, Harrison.
Does Texas miss a field goal in this game?
Probably.
Probably a good bet, honestly.
Probably get one.
I know they have a new kicker.
I've been ready for old Blocksky. I think there is a kick blocked, either a punt or a field goal blocked by the Dogs.
Brett Thorson revenge game. Got hurt in this game last year, the SEC championship. I say 60-yard punt at least one time.
Didn't see the field.
Damn.
Oh. Ah, dang.
Just kidding. He probably didn't see the field, but
All right. Oh.
We'll wrap it up right there, boys. We'll see you next Sunday at 8:30. I'm sorry.
maybe we'll see Harrison this time.
I will be in town, so yes, you will.
Great.